Check this out. This is from sciencealert.com. And man, wouldn't you know it? The mysterious network of plants may be nastier than we thought. What? What are you talking about, right? Okay, so they call it the Wood Wide Web. We've talked about this in the past as well. But so basically, I'll just read a little bit of this. But when the Wood Wide Web was first described in the journal Nature in 1997, our view of plant life took on a utopian gleam. But a new paper suggests this communication network between plants might not be so altruistic after all, and could even be used for sabotage. What? What? How you guys doing? What is going on? So plants can send and receive chemical signals aided by the mycorrhizal, I think that's how you say it, fungal networks that connect their roots below ground. This phenomenon was described by forest ecologist Suzanne Simard, S-I-M-A-R-D, and her colleagues nearly 3 decades ago, and is now known affectionately as the Wood Wide Web. When a caterpillar, for instance, takes a bite out of a tomato leaf, scientists have observed that a neighboring plant connected to the first by a mycorrhizal network will ramp up production of the bug repellent enzymes in its genetic arsenal. Which is wild, right? So what this article goes on to say is that not just that, with the sort of giving cues of, maybe predator interactions or things where they need to, batten down the hatches type of stuff and shore up their defenses because of a particular incident. What they're also saying in this article, which is incredibly wild, is that they might do this intentionally and do it, fake it, basically send out signals that will cause their competing close neighbors, or who knows how deep this goes. This is just just recently discovered. And let's see. Here's the actual paper. Where's the paper itself? I'll link it in the chat just a second here. But basically like this. So if they send out a false cue, like an actual, they're saying that the mysterious network of plants may be nastier than we thought, because they could send out one of these false signals that actually causes their neighboring plants to batten down the hatches and spend extra energy on these defenses, which may not be necessary. Okay. Now, to me, that sounds very human. It sounds like a very misdirection sort of style of, just, how humans operate with each other. It's, business is all good and well, and let's step on each other's faces to get to the top, right? That's all fine and dandy, as I always like to call it, which is why I try not to do that here. Let's succeed together as much as possible. Collaboration's a beautiful thing. But if you take collaboration in this instance and talk about the mycelium network as it is, which is, again, the underground space of all the roots and all the nutty stuff. Hold on, let me read this to you. Probably this is the best way to do it. So this is just the blurb. So to fill you in, if you guys are not familiar with the mycelium network, check this out. So beneath the forest floor lies a vast, intricate network known as mycelium, a complex web of fungal threads called hyphae, Hyphae. This subterranean system plays a crucial role in nutrient cycling and plant communication. Through mycorrhizal associations, mycelium connects with plant roots, facilitating the exchange of nutrients and information. Recent studies have revealed that mycelium can transmit electrical impulses, suggesting a form of communication within these networks. Some researchers propose that these electrical signals might function similarly to neural networks in animals, potentially allowing fungi to process information and respond to environmental changes. The mycelium network's ability to transfer nutrients between plants is another area of intrigue. For instance, a tree exposed to ample sunlight may produce excess sugars through photosynthesis. These sugars can travel through the mycelium to a neighboring tree that is shaded or struggling, thereby supporting the entire forest ecosystem. And that's the way we used to think it worked, that they would sort of have a balancing situation, okay, where if the struggling buddy down the street wasn't getting enough sun, that you would be able to sort of pass nutrients on and help buddy get through a tough time, right? Well, now they're saying sort of the opposite, that maybe they send out these signals and even sabotage each other as part of this, nastier than we thought mechanism, which is bizarre, right? So the wild part about this, of course, as we always talk about, the scale of the mycelial networks is astonishing. Estimates suggest that mycelia weave a dynamic subterranean network stretching for approximately 450 quadrillion kilometers, which is about half the width of the Milky Way galaxy. Yeah, right. That's big. The potential for mycelium to serve as an interconnected network for interstellar communication has also been hypothesized, facilitating the exchange of information between celestial bodies, which is weird. That's a whole other thing for a whole other time. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's for tonight. But anyway, that's where we start. So we're told that this mycelium network is supposed to be more benevolent. It's supposed to, it's there, the communication, the sort of shifting of nutrients, all these things are actually in place to help, to be more utopian. Well, it turns out that according to this recent paper, again, as reported on sciencealert.com, that may not be the case at all. And the whole thing may be a cloak and dagger play of the plant kingdom trying to get an edge on its nearby, or maybe not nearby, competitors, because of course if this actual network is as large as we are expected to believe, and well, we know how deep a lot of these roots go just from anybody who's ever pulled up a tree before. They say that the tree, just a tree by itself, as big as the tree itself outward, okay, however many branches it goes and how big that is, that's also how big its root system is, okay? And so imagine that in the context of an entire forest. Yeah. And then, of course, scale that, and we have a pretty interesting thing. Also, of note, this is one of those things that has been rumored that sort of the druids or the shamanic journey kind of flows through this mycelium network in some capacity with, I don't know, maybe ancient information being stored in these things. And that's just me kind of speculating as part of this. But anyway, so the question for you guys tonight, do you believe this? Do you think this makes any amount of sense if we're talking about this communication network beneath our feet in the roots of plants, the forests, the world over, are actually sabotaging each other? Does that make any sort of sense whatsoever? Or do you think this is sort of humans anthropomorphizing ideas of plants and not understanding the entire system? So that's to begin. And of course, we're going to get to some weird places, of course, as we do, which is going to be the shamanic journey, all the rest of the stuff like we always talk about. But anyway, well, that's where we're at. So now this is the weird part. I'm calling this tonight Fungal Alliances, a hidden hand in evolution, because there's a lot of wild and crazy ideas that came out of this, sort of the brainstorming process as I do this. And one of them was, you guys remember the forest, right? Not just the forest, of course, but the state parks, and something called Missing 411 by David Paulides. He's been looking into this for quite some time, and there's a great many cases that seem to have been covered up of people that just end up mysteriously vanishing from these places, okay? And we've talked about that threshold effect, maybe people walking through, two massive boulders or something and becoming disoriented, and maybe it's amplified by the mycelium network in some degree or capacity, and that really starts to make me wonder what the hell's happening out there. And so I'm going to read straight from this because it's probably the best way to do it without me rambling through it. But this is from the write-ups down below. If you guys want to read ahead or read along with me, it's going to be right there. But this is probably the best way to do it. Think of this in a great many ways, because when we're talking about communication between plants, the actual plant kingdom, we have a problem here, because maybe a good problem, because many of these actual root systems may be millions of years old for all we know. Like, who knows what kind of stuff still lives deep down below, sort of Hades, Tartarus level deep. And does it remember? And anyway, keep some of those wild ideas in mind as we go, because there's a lot here. But anyway, so recent research, which we're talking about, reveals an unsettling side to the vast underground fungal networks long believed to foster interplant cooperation. Rather than serving solely as benevolent nutrient channels, these mycelial webs may display a manipulative streak, aiding certain plants while sabotaging others. This new perspective hints that our understanding of these silent connectors has barely scratched the surface, leaving open the question of whether we're witnessing an evolved survival strategy or something even more curious. Curious indeed. Some have speculated that these networks could hold a form of interspecies communication system. If so, one might wonder whether this living web is capable of influencing more than just botanical life. Ancient human rituals sometimes revered fungi as gateways to otherworldly insight. We've heard this before quite a lot on this show. We've talked about it even. But this suggests that these hidden structures might link ordinary perception with deeper or perhaps more mysterious states of awareness. There are stories of shamans tapping into what they believe was a cosmic voice through altered states. And perhaps these tales carry traces of truth about the secret potency of mycelial connections. Of course, it may be that we've overlooked the potential for a global exchange of information stored or relayed by these fungal tendrils. And conceivably, an advanced civilization, human or otherwise, and this is where this starts to get incredibly fascinating, could have learned to manipulate these filaments for its own ends. Of course, in this case, skeptics point out that firm evidence for such a claim is lacking as of yet, but the subtlety of these channels and the ancient lineage of fungi open the door to bold hypotheses. And that's where we're at tonight. As you know me, I like to consider wild ideas as part of it, but think about this. You know how humans can be cranky, right? The old wake up on the wrong side of the bed or wake up on the right side of the bed. You know, to the best of your ability, you try and control yourself as much as possible through the Stoic mindset, things like this, right? But for some reason, you just wake up one day and you're just not feeling it for whatever reason, right? It feels like a Monday, but it's not even a Monday. You catch me? Well, I wonder if there's something happening with, I don't know, with this network that is maybe manipulating those aspects of us, sort of our maybe emotional states, or maybe manipulating how we think in certain cases. And think about it like this. Let's go back to the forest and the missing 411 of David Pilates for a second. Now, if you're walking through the forest, recognize that sometimes it's almost as if it's whispering to you in a lot of ways, right? And sometimes for no good reason, you'll just stop and just kind of feel like you're being held there for a moment to look at a particular tree, or maybe take in a particular aroma, or listen for a babbling brook somewhere out there, or whatever it is, right? You're sort of just drawn inexplicably to stop and listen, or stop and smell, or stop and look around, and you're not sure why. You're on a hike, you got places to go, stop and smell the roses or whatever, but it's almost as if you're compelled to in a moment. And so this makes me wonder if there's a larger context to this that's actually been manipulating people for a very long time, because not just that, of course, not just our moods, and let's say through chemical signals, possibly things we haven't as yet measured, or maybe the measurements are all out there and we don't recognize how they affect us. I don't know, just some speculations there. But beyond that, what if this is actually sort of the hidden hand, as I'm calling this, a hidden hand in evolution and the evolutionary process? Could, let's say, the entire mycelium network just sort of collude together, again, because we're talking about it being evil in this capacity, right? The nastier than we thought. But what if it could actually, through sort of changing a nutrient structure or swinging this or that a particular way, it could actually influence, let's say, mammalian evolution? You think that's possible? And there's a lot of things that actually kind of come into this, but it's weird to me that these things are alive. Obviously, this is not in debate, but if they're communicating with each other, and we don't understand really any of it, we're just trying to make guesses based on, once again, sort of anthropomorphizing the idea of, deception in these things without even understanding what it really means. I mean, that seems, I don't know, it seems very human to me. It seems very hubris of humans to, say, they're competing with each other. They're trying to deceive each other. I don't know. What else might they be doing? And that's the question tonight. There's a lot of questions to this, but what do you know about the mycelium network, of course, as it starts? And how weird does this get? Because I think the more I think about it, the more this makes me not unnerved, but let's say, how about instead curious to learn more about this process and what it means, not just for the plant kingdom, but for the animal kingdom as well. Because imagine this, let's say you're a crow in the forest and you've been able to tap into this mycelium network somehow, whether it's, again, through nutrient exchange or through smells or subtle cues that are happening. There's a lot of data there. And so you could seem almost supernatural in some capacity to be able to say, well, my sixth sense kind of tells me that I probably shouldn't be here. And maybe it's all around us. The warnings of the forest, for whatever reason, are just screaming out constantly and continually, or, not when it's not a dangerous space or whatever, but we don't recognize them because we haven't been trained to. We're not the druids of old, or the shamans going through that shamanic journey and the rest. But anyway, what do you think this looks like? And how weird does it get? That really becomes a problem on my mind tonight. Some other things here. Okay, secret language of plants. There's a ton of stuff. I'll get to it as we go. But that puts us kind of about where we need to be. But we are taking your calls tonight if you want to be part of the show tonight. It is 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. And of course, I'll open up the phone lines at the bottom of the hour in just a few minutes here, and we'll start taking some calls. Matthew is first. Thank you for jumping in line there. And the phone lines are not on yet. And yeah, there we go. Okay. So here's the deal, right? Also, it's a good time to drop the disclaimers as usual. This is just ideas here. This is just sort of free think, not chasing science. I'm not a scientist. I'm more a dreamer and a folklorist and things like that. So we could talk about the Fey realm, as how this might come into it, sort of the will-o'-the-wisp, as we've talked about, maybe plasma. There's a lot of really bizarre things that kind of come out of this. Primordial nature spirits is one of my favorites. But you recognize how I'm talking about a lot of things that may or may not be connected. So squint with your mind's eye and maybe dream of some connections, and maybe not. But there's no truth to be found here. That's all the disclaimers. If you're looking for truth, you're definitely in the wrong place. If you're looking for some wild ideas and some maybes of what the future might bring as we discover more, then you're certainly in the right place here at Troubled Minds. So yeah, that's puts us where we need to be. Like I said, who else? Let's see, what else do we got here? A funny aside. No, it's not. I mean, it's funny to me. It's not going to be funny to you. Let's see. What else is here? Okay. Back to the article real quick. So I'm going to read the bottom of this because this is where this gets weird, right? If you want to read this in full, I encourage you to, because like I said, I like to cite the inspiration where this stuff comes from. Okay. So straight from Science Alert. So it's easy to assume that a plant under attack is actively emitting a warning signal to its neighbors, like a horror movie character stuck in a trap. Forget about me, save yourselves. And that's how many have interpreted this phenomenon. Of course, again, back to the caterpillar takes a bite of a tomato leaf and it warns its neighboring plants that, hey, batten down the hatches. This could be bad for you. So start oozing those enzymes that'll scare off these critters, right? But anyway, so there's no dispute that information is transferred. Organisms are constantly detecting and processing information about their environment, says VU evolutionary biologist Toby Kears, Kiers. And Toby continues, the question is whether plants are actively sending signals to warn each other. Maybe just like gossiping neighbors, one plant is simply eavesdropping on the next. Once again, very human, right? Very human ideas here. The team used mathematical models to unpick the possible evolutionary drivers of the supposed warning signal system. And it makes sense that plants might evolve to pick up on signs of distress among their kin and respond with defenses. The physical ability to do so helps them to ward off their own caterpillar attack even before it happens. But the plant issuing that signal doesn't necessarily benefit from this interaction. And this is why they always believe it to be benevolent, right? The team's modeling showed that giving its neighbors such an advantage could actually do the plant more harm than good. Evolutionary pressures in their modeling, like competition with neighboring plants for nutrients and sunlight, actually selected against such an altruistic trait. Okay, which brings us to this. So they're saying that plants can gain a benefit from dishonest signaling because it harms their local competitors by tricking them into investing in costly herbivore defense mechanisms. And that's exactly the point of this, like I said. But is that, I don't know, it seems very, human driven in terms of morality. And I'm not even sure you can quantify the plant kingdom as such. It's so strange to me how we science is kind of like, well, this makes a lot of sense for people. Well, but these aren't people. these are the plants of the world. Stop it. So anyway, does it sound ridiculous to you to suggest that these plants are actually deceiving each other to gain an evolutionary advantage in this mycelium network? And to me, it seems like it's probably one data point in a sea of data that we have not yet deciphered. And so where's a good guess? I'm not like, I'm not sold on this, but maybe you are. Maybe I'm missing something here, which is the whole point of doing this is to talk to people about these incredible ideas. So what do you know about it? What do you know about the mycelium networks? What do you know about maybe missing 411 of David Paulides? And what about the shamanic journey? And is there more out there in the forests of the world than we ever expected to find? And is there a way to tune into this, back to the druidic aspect of things? And think something like what would it be? Avatar. Do you remember Avatar, that old movie? I haven't seen any of these sequels, but where they had their tail, where they sort of wrapped them into these plants, and they were able to communicate directly, and they were able to communicate with animals that way, and even had to do some sort of spirit bonding. I don't know. You think that's possible in, let's say, the human space? And like I said, and like I continue to say, how weird does it get? Yeah. Oh yeah. Sports ball update. Thank goodness football season is over, and now the countdown to baseball season has commenced. So I'm completely thrilled at this time of year because, yep, I'm really not a football fan. But in other sports ball news, and this will conclude our sports ball coverage for the night, the Kansas City Chiefs finally lost a damn Super Bowl. So stuff at Chiefs. Everybody outside of Kansas City was rooting against you. So yeah, Hey, lose one. Why don't you? Anyway, that concludes our sports ball coverage for the evening. Love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you know about? We're talking about the mysterious network of plants, maybe nastier than we thought. Does it seem very human to you? Does it seem possible? Does it seem like the old capitalism aspect is stepping on each other's faces to get to the top actually exists in the plant world? Tonight, could a hidden intelligence resting in roots in fungi truly steer entire ecosystems over millennia? Is it possible that ancient lore and faint illusions in forest shadows point to subtle manipulations of mood and perception? And of course, how deep and how weird does the mycelium network get? And that's what's on my mind tonight.